A very warm welcome to you. It's indeed a pleasure to have you join us again on Almond Finance and Wealth Reports this week. As you know, we are source for latest happening information in the financial sector of the nation's economy. Many thanks also to our partner on this program, Standard Alliance Life Assurance Limited, for their continued support. My name is Faith Wode. On this edition of the program, climate change and its attendant problem has become the focus of leaders across the globe. This week, I'll be speaking exclusively with Dr. Regina Florunsho, an Assistant Director at the Nigerian Institute of Oceanography. Together, we'll look at the topic, climate change and the insurance industry in Nigeria. Plus, we bring you highlights of CII Maiden Ramadan Tasrir that took place at the Lagos State Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Alausa, Ikeja, Lagos. The topic of the Tasrir this year was tolerance and interrelationship in a multi-religious society. The guest speaker was Dr. Saeed Temehi of the Lagos State University. Plus, our regulars on the program are Voice Pop segments, Waiting Insurance, the DUSEF, and Insurance Talk Celebrities Edition. I urge you, as always, to sit back, relax, and spend this time with us, but all the details are coming to you after the break. Please stay with us.
Almond Finance and Wealth Report is incisive.
But I want to tell you, the industry must be woken today from slumber. The industry has slept enough. Oversleeping may bring obesity.
We cannot continue in this path any longer. There must be a change of attitude and behavior amongst practitioners. We cannot continue the same thing all the time and expect a different result.
It's across borders.
Let us bear in mind that although the insurance industry in Africa is saddled by many challenges, these challenges for sure are not insurmountable at all.
It's socializing. Join Faith and Wode every week on this station.
All right, welcome back. We'll move on straight to our exclusive interview with Dr. Regina Florunsho, the Assistant Director at the Nigerian Institute of Oceanography, where we'll be discussing the topic, climate change and the insurance industry in Nigeria. All right, welcome back. On the site of Almond today, like I said in the opening, I have a very important guest, and together we'll be looking at a very topical issue that's talking about climate change and the insurance industry. We're looking particularly at the insurance industry because they are risk bearers. But for all of us, climate change actually affects each and every one of us. I'm talking about Dr. Regina Florunsho, an Assistant Director in Nigerian Institute of Oceanography. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us on the program.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Okay, now let me kick off by asking you, we've heard so much talk about climate change, but to the layman on the streets, what is climate change really?
Thank you. Climate change is the significant and real changes in the climate parameters. For example, rainfall, there should be a significant change in rainfall amounts. There should be significant change in sunshine or temperature and in wind regimes. So when we have this over the decades, then we know we are in climate change.
Okay, it's more recently really that we've been hearing talk about climate change. But what I want to know, has it always been there, or we're just waking up to see that our climate or our environment is actually changing?
The climate has been changing over decades and into millennia. For example, the position of the sun could cause temperatures to increase or reduce. But recently, we have been seeing the activities of man increasing the gas, the gaseous, the gaseousness of the atmosphere. For example, the amount of gas from carbon dioxide, it's on the increase, and this is causing the greenhouse effect. And with the greenhouse effect, you can think of, for example, a flower garden that they have put a glass over a vegetation, the amount of radiation that escapes is zero, meaning that all the radiation is trapped in. Meanwhile, the sun can shine and trap heat, and that heat, which is supposed to escape, does not escape. Then you have a greenhouse effect. So the increase in the amount of carbon dioxide emanating from the human activities is increasing the trapped high temperatures, and that will result in excessive rainfall in some areas and a drought in some areas. And it will also increase climate in terms of the wind regime. There are some places where there will be intense wind activities that trees will fall. It's because wind has to blow from high pressure zone to low pressure zone. So when you have a high pressure zone created, wind will flow from the high pressure zone to low pressure zones. We will also have ocean currents reorientating itself, meaning that we could also have, you know, a drive towards the coast that will increase in storminess. We could have storm surges. So these are, you know, the areas we have to look at when we think about climate change in terms of what man is doing and causing the atmosphere to change.
Okay, now you actually mentioned very important areas. You talked about the storm and ocean levels and all of that. But what I want to ask, what is the direct impact of climate change on individual and national economies?
Climate change is going to cause a lot of insecurity in a nation. For example, it will not only be in a nation that the insecurity will be created. Insecurity could also be created from the region. For example, if you have a region where there is drought, people will have to move from that area to areas where, you know, there is a food. Like what is happening in Somalia now, they all have to move to Kenya. And that is causing stress on Kenyans. So climate change is going to create some insecurities. Insecurities in terms of if there isn't much rainfall, then the women will have to find, you know, other means of taking care of their kids. The men will have to leave their wives and travel far away to look for another type of job. If, for example, there is storm surges and houses are washed away, then the whole family will have to relocate. So these are some of the stress levels that individuals will have to contend with when we have, you know, climate change parameters or climate change events happening in a nation.
Now let's bring it to the reason why we are actually here. The insurance industry, by virtue of their business, they are at the point of call for people that suffer losses and all of that. So in that perspective, the insurance industry and the challenges of climate change, as an industry, what would you suggest them to do, or what areas do you want them to be looking at as activities of human beings also increase? Especially, you made mention of Lagos State.
Yeah.
We'll have more people now living here. We have more people having houses. Even in coastal areas, you see people reclaiming lands and building and all of that. At the end of the day, it boils down to the table of insurance companies, so to speak. So what would you say is the major challenge for them as an industry?
The science behind climate change is not so certain. There are discrepancies here and there as regard the models being, you know, used to predict the rate of change. But if we have to wait for the science of climate change to be definite, then a lot of problems are going to besaddle us. What I mean by that is, for example, I am very sure the insurance company is just taking this issue of climate change, you know, in a very light mood. If they are not also adding their models to their predictions of what disasters are going to come out of the climate change issues and how often the disasters are going to happen, then they will be making some mistake. They have to factor in the model of climate change into their own model, in the sense that, for example, if in 10 years you have 2 disasters, it's a good business for the insurance company. But what about if we have 6 disasters in 10 years? Then it will dig deep into the coffers of the insurance company. It is going to affect that industry, the insurance industry, because they will have to pay more premium and they are not going to have enough profit. So if these events do happen constantly, then the insurance company will have to reassess their policies and make sure that they have factored in climate change models. Because for example, in this institute, we are basically on the coastal environment, and we are very much interested in sea level rises. Now, we also know that the IPCC, that is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, has predicted that there will be an increase of about 2.0 meters, in some decades. Okay. Now, if I have to build my house, or if somebody had to ask me, where do I build my house? Near the coastal zone. I will ask you to think about that meters in 10 years. So that if you build your house very close to the ocean front and you only have 10 meters and the increase is going to be like 2 meters per year, then it means that in 5 years that house is going into the ocean. For example, we have that hotel at Alpha Beach. It is now inside the ocean. If that house had been insured, the insurance company will have to pay premium.
Claims.
Claims.
Claims, yes.
Yes. So, if the insurance company or industry had not understood the model and how it translates to sea level rise and how that sea level rise is supposed to encroach on the land in terms of year by year, then you'll be paying a lot of, what did you say? Claims. Okay? So the insurance company has to be very much interested in the models that is being generated for climate change, in models for sea level rise. And those models have to be factored into your, let's say, your daily, thought about how to safeguard properties and stuff like that. So if it is not being done, then there is a gap that has to be filled. And, well, it might not augur well for the insurance company. For example, in 2004, June, we had a rainfall, very serious rainfall, that the whole of Lekki was flooded, the road was cut off, and people could not come. Their houses were flooded. Now, one would have thought that it would take another 10 years for us to experience that, but it did not take another 10 years. This year, we've had 2 serious rainfall that had flooded people's homes. So, in less than 10 years, you've had, high rainfall amounts that has destroyed homes and properties. If the insurance has to pay, for those claims, then you know what it means for the insurance company. So the insurance company have to be on the top, they should have the top information on what is happening in terms of climate.
What I think about insurance, that it's good for people. But I don't know anything much about it. Well, I've never gone through it before, and I haven't had any experience about it. But I believe it's good for people, for safety of good and property things, and for the life. So that's what I know about it.
All right, welcome back. Moving on, we'll bring you highlights of the CII Maiden Ramadan Tasri that took place at the Lagos State Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Alausa, here in Ikeja. The guest speaker was Dr. Said Timei of the Lagos State University. The Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria, CIN, is charged with the task of training and providing manpower for the entire insurance industry. The institute, in a bid to achieve this task, is constantly looking at ways to develop the workforce mentally, physically, and spiritually through various programs. The institute recently held its maiden Ramadan Tafsir at the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry Conference and Exhibition Center at Alausa, Ikeja. The topic of the Tafsir was tolerance and interrelationship in a multi-religious society. The guest speaker was Dr. Said Timei of the Lagos State University, while the moderator was Dr. S. Junaid of the University of Lagos. Welcoming participants to the Tafsir, the President and Chairman of Council of the CIN, Mr. Fatai Kayode Lawal, said that the month of Ramadan is a special month for all Muslims because it affords them the opportunity to seek for favor from Almighty Allah.
The month of Ramadan, the 9th month in the Islamic calendar, is a special month for all Muslims. It is the month in which Muslim faithful draw closer to their Lord and Creator by engaging more in acts of devotion, charity, tilawah and tafsir, and seeking for forgiveness and favor of Almighty Allah. May we all enjoy that benefit. It is the month in which Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down the greatest miracle of all, the Holy Quran, to mankind.
Nigeria, like most countries of the world, have had its share of ethnic and religious crises, which many believe are sometimes fueled by politicians who play on people's sentiments and divide them along religious lines. Delivering the lecture on the topic, Tolerance and Interrelationship in a Multi-Religious Society, the guest speaker, Dr. Said Timei, stated that society have changed significantly today as a result of open access to information across the globe. Multi-religious societies such as Nigeria, therefore, must learn to manage information because people who differ with each other on faith also have a claim to God.
How do you acknowledge diversity while at the same time you want to affirm your identity? The reality of the order in our social life can no longer be denied. Most of the conflicts that have devastated our world began with refusal of some person, groups, or nations to acknowledge or embrace the order as a social reality. It is therefore clear that what has outlawed peace from our society, and indeed from most countries of the world, is their refusal to admit that people who differ with us in faith also have claim to God.
Christianity and Islam, the two predominant religions in Nigeria, both preaches peace. This, however, has not translated into peaceful coexistence in the country. Summing up the lecture, the moderator, Dr. S. Junaid, said, as a nation, Nigerians must have mutual respect for one another.
So the bottom line here is, if we must remain one strong and united nation, we must cultivate the habit of mutual respect for one another. You are entitled to your opinion, just as I am entitled to my own opinion. And the Quran was very emphatic when it says, that will be the whole for the religion. To you, your religion, you are entitled to it. It's all right. to them by religious protection. Because I do not expect you to insist that you want this. There's one common subtype submission of people here. Someone will have a question and say, you are too good to be a Muslim. Listen to that. You are too good to be a Muslim. That person had behind his mind that Muslims are terrorists. Muslims are God-lovers. Muslims are destructive. That is only when you think negative of another Muslim.
At the end, some participants had questions for the guest speaker.
There's one challenge we have. That's knowledge, basic knowledge. What is your recommendation on how those of us who are lazy in knowing about people, please recommend to us, most particularly, a colleague here was saying how some of them read something. Maybe you have a practical way of assisting us.
I just want to make reference to just about 30 years ago when I was in the College of Education. I had a lecturer, Reverend Akilade. He was teaching Islamic studies and he quoted the Quran excellently. He also quoted the Bible excellently. It still remains a mystery to me today. As a reverend, he was teaching Islamic studies in that school and the College of Education at the time.
The Made in Ramadan Tafsir also featured Quranic recitation and hadith.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين
أجل الورى ذاته وأصل وباتنا وأطيبه نفسا وأطوله يدا أطاب له رحمن نشأ ومولدا فما زال ممن خالف لا يبلغ
The Made in Ramadan Tafsir was, by every standard, a success. The Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria is constantly encouraging and assisting professionals to regularly update their knowledge in order to respond positively to changes in the business environment.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is MC Abe, aka The Prof. I'm a stand-up comedian and also a company of event of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And a simple question I want to ask you people: are you insured? Are you secured? Are you insured? Your properties, your life, all the things that you have valuable, are they insured? Get insured. Get insured. In short, get insured. From MC Abe. Thank you.
Alright, that's our time on this edition of the program. Like I always say here, for comments, questions, observations, do feel free to get in touch with us on 017763981 or 08033357879 or better still send us an email, almond4xx@yahoo.com or almondproduction@gmail.com. You can also visit us on our website, www.almondreport.com. Many thanks to Standard Alliance Life Assurance Limited, our partner on this program. Do not forget also to join us every Wednesday by 9:45 a.m. on Niger FM 102.7 for our Pidgin English program called Waiting Insurance Deducive. My name is Faith Ugwode. Until same time, same station next week, where we'll come your way with a fresh package of this program from all of us here. It's goodbye.